Welcome to Perspectives El Paso. I'm Professor Leon Blevins of El Paso Community College Television. I've brought my crew with me today to a place that I wanted to be for a very, very long time. It's the Museum of Archaeology here in El Paso, Texas, on Trans Mountain Road. And you can see in the background some of the wonderful dioramas that are available here. And I have with me a very special guest who's relatively new to the director of this museum. His name is Jeff Romney. Jeff, welcome to the program.
It's nice to be with you, Professor Blevins. Thank you for having me on today.
Good. Now, your background is in archaeology?
Yes, sir. I attended Brigham Young University, and I graduated in 1995 with a bachelor's in archaeology and anthropology.
And when did you actually start working here?
I started working here at this institution last August, so it's almost a year now.
Okay. Did you have another job in El Paso before you came to this one?
I sure did. I served for about 10 years as the Director of Development at the El Paso Museum of Art, where I started in 2006.
Well, this is a special edition. We usually do not do taping in the summer. And recently we went to the Museum of Art downtown and met with their new director there. Right. And we'll be showing that also in September, and this program probably will come up in September. A unique thing, because now we're able to interview some people we weren't able to do before if we had to do it in the framework of our 16-week semester of school. You did your major studies in archaeology at Brigham Young University. Did you go to graduate school and other places you've studied as interns or anything else like that?
In addition to my undergraduate studies at Brigham Young University, I did attend Eastern Arizona College for one semester, and then I went to high school at Academia Juarez in Colonia Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. I was in the master's program at Brigham Young University, but I did leave the program early to accept employment with Salt Lake County Parks and Recreation as a museum specialist at Wheeler Historic Farm.
So you're especially fascinated with Southwestern archaeology and Southwestern history. I love it down through this area.
That's absolutely my passion, and I've spent my entire life learning about Southwestern cultures. My minor at BYU was Native American Studies as well. So yeah, I really, really enjoy learning about it and helping the public understand more about our Southwestern cultural heritage.
Oh, great. Well, I was on the Bicentennial Commission, 1975 and 76, on the Declaration of Independence. But we got interested here, not just on national things, but also local. We were interested in preserving McGoffin Home near downtown. We were interested in developing a history museum. And so they built a very small history museum out at what is now the Interstate, the Loop. And then archaeology came up, and the same man helped build that building there and helped build this one, E.H. Baeza, a builder. Yes. Mm-hmm. And Don Henderson became mayor during that. But also Fred Hervey, a mayor before Don Henderson, a businessman that owned this chain of convenience stores, Circle K. He was interested in these things. It's good to have people that are interested that have some money and background, right?
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without them, that's for sure.
Well, what about that so far as funding? What is your funding, and how do you get, are you in grant writing? Tell us about that.
Sure. The El Paso Museum of Archaeology is owned and operated by the city of El Paso. And the city does provide funding for a lot of things here. The operations of the facility, the salaries, and so forth. We do raise funds as well through our store sales, also through membership revenues, private donations and sponsorships, and also grants as well. Helps us fund the overall educational and exhibition programming here at the Museum of Archaeology.
Well, that's the reason it's important that the public know some of these contact points so that they can call if they want to volunteer, they can call if they want to be involved in helping to fund. Also about bringing groups of people to see this museum. Now, I've been here on a number of occasions over the years as an individual. I never came with a group. What about groups that come in? Just the other day, I was walking in to meet you, last Friday, I believe it was, and there was Norma and Carla Newman, friends of mine from past church affiliation and past teaching at community college. So I took a picture of them with the entrance there, and there were hundreds of kids coming out.
Right.
What was that about?
Well, that day, Carla's actually helping us with our summer camps this year. She's helping us teach and coordinate those activities. We also have a lot of school tours come through here throughout the year. And we had a school tour here that day, and they were just leaving the facility at the time, and that's probably what you experienced. We have anywhere between 3,500 and 5,000 school students of all ages come through the museum each year.
Wow.
And that's out of a total attendance of around 25,000 people here per year.
I have the experience sometimes of crossing paths with people that I've had association with before, and they've changed, they've grown, they've changed as time has gone by, but they still remember going to places that they've been. What about that with these kids?
You know, a lot of the kids that come here have never been here before, so a good percentage of them, this is their first experience learning about archaeology in our area and about local history, which is a great opportunity for us to tell our story. It's part of our shared heritage here in El Paso.
You associate with people at Waco Tanks, Franklin Mountain State Park. Tell us about some of your associations with other organizations or groups and how they contribute to you and you contribute to them.
Sure. We work periodically with Waco Parks, Waco Tanks Park actually, and they actually help us with our summer camps to some degree. We have an optional outing to Waco Tanks following each summer camps, and they show the kids around and show them the petrographs and other things out there. We also work with Franklin Mountain Wilderness Park Coalition. They started the Poppies Festival just over 11 years ago, and this past April, we took over the Poppies Festival. They were still a contributing partner to the event, but the Museums and Cultural Affairs Department with the city, along with us, and with help also from the Border Patrol Museum next door, we were able to produce the Poppies Fest again this year. But we do work together with teaching the community about our history and also about our native plants and our wilderness park, which is surrounding the building.
Now the poppies that are on this east side of the Franklin Mountains, they just pop up for a very short time and then they disappear. Tell us why is that important that people come in? Some don't even know about this. If they're watching this show, they, what's a poppy festival?
Yeah.
Well, tell us why that's significant.
Well, you know, the Poppies Festival really commemorates the spring bloom of the Mexican gold poppy that we have in our area. Some years the bloom is heavier than others, some years it's spectacular, and some years we just have a few. This past year we had a decent bloom. They started coming out around the end of February and lasted probably till about mid-April. So it's a great opportunity for people to come out and take family photos, group photos, and really enjoy our natural surroundings, which is carpeted in this beautiful gold color.
Oh gosh. Now tell us a little bit about your dioramas. I remember Bill Rackesee was a friend of mine, an artist here in El Paso, and he contributed some of his artwork to El Paso Community College, by the way. And I remember when this museum opened that some of his dioramas were on display. He did some, helped develop some. Had you heard about this from your history?
Sure.
Okay.
Basically, back in around 1973, the mayor of El Paso at the time commissioned a group of folks to come together to start talking about creating a history museum and also an archaeology museum. And a few years of discussing and planning with the help of the El Paso Archaeological Society. This building was built and completed in 1976. And the El Paso Archaeological Society, also known as EPAS, was very instrumental in creating the dioramas that we have, the ones that you see behind me, and also the building, the institution as a whole. We opened our doors in October of 1977. The dioramas really focus on about 10,000 years of prehistory here in El Paso, all the way up through the Spanish entrada into the valley. We talk about the paleo hunters, we talk about the archaic period, hunters and gatherers, moves up through the Pueblo period, and of course the populations, the native cultures that were here when the Spanish arrived, like the Manso, the Piru, and others that were here in the valley.
Well, my wonderful crew is going to see what they can do to get some of these scenes that are out of our sight, and so the public can see this. That's why we're so glad to have you on here. This is a visual experience. This is not a historical experience.
Sure.
It's a visual experience. And you see the eyes of the children light up as they come through. And some of the adults also are fascinated, aren't they?
I have to chuckle a little bit because oftentimes we have to remind the children that the animals that they're seeing in the diorama are not real, that they're fake, and so they
scare some of them.
Yeah, they don't get so scared.
Now, some of your exhibits are down in a hole. We couldn't position ourselves today for this program because some of those we couldn't see.
Yeah, you have to stand up over and look down into
We
them.
can see here. I've seen many places like this. You've been to Chaco Canyon and other places
Sure.
in Arizona, New Mexico. What about your travels there? You pick up things that you can do, want to do?
You know, I grew up down in the Casas Grandes area of Chihuahua, which is where Paquime is located.
Oh, okay.
Paquime was the largest city in northern Mexico around AD 1200 through AD 1450, say. And it's after growing up in that area that I really got an interest in southwestern archaeology. And I've spent a lot of time over my career going to sites in Arizona, also in New Mexico, up to Chaco, up to Aztec. I've also spent quite a number of visits at on the Hopi Mesas, at Zuni and other places, just learning all I can about prehistoric native communities and also current native communities.
I used to travel around in those areas, not in Mexico, but on this side of the border, and ride around on my bicycle and leave a very small footprint in some of these places. And you can see things that you don't see just from driving down a paved road or even a dirt road.
Sure.
And I love that experience. Did you do any archaeological digs? Did you ever get down and dirty?
I sure did, and I really enjoyed it. When I was at BYU, at Brigham Young University, we went to field school at Baker, Nevada, which was a Fremont site, and spent a summer there in extremely hot temperatures digging out a pit house site. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I also served as the camp cook at the time. Also participated on a small excavation with Eastern Arizona College, which was a Hohokam site there along the Gila River, and really enjoyed that experience as well.
In 2010, my wife and I made a trip in the southeastern part of the United States, and I was dressed as Uncle Sam for many of those places. And on two of them, we saw archaeological digs, and we stayed around a while and visited with some of those people. One was at James Madison Home in Virginia.
Oh, interesting.
And another one was at Jamestown. And the archaeologists would have us pose as Uncle Sam with them so they could say, look, we met Uncle Sam, he came through, and some of us, we work for the federal government, he's our boss.
Right.
But it was interesting to see that they were still at this time digging up things that had been there for hundreds of years.
Right.
Isn't that what gives you a good feeling about that, digging up stuff that was there hundreds of years?
It's on the one hand, it's fascinating. It's interesting, like you say, to dig up items, artifacts that were left by people a very long time ago. Another part of why I enjoy it so much is that it's a way of preserving our cultural heritage. By examining what was left by peoples in the past, we have a better understanding of who we are today as people. And it's protecting our cultural heritage. The other side of that coin is that unfortunately a lot of the archaeological sites throughout the Southwest in particular have been heavily looted in the past.
Yes.
So I would encourage everyone who happens to come across an archaeological site when you're hiking or if you're walking through the mountains or the desert, if you do find potsherds or arrowheads or things of that nature, just leave them where you found them. Definitely take all the pictures you like, but leave them there because it's important. Once items are removed from the context or the location that they were found in, we lose important information when we study them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important not to mess with archaeological sites. Just take pictures and enjoy them and leave them as they are for a future generation.
Have you been to the Keystone Project here in El Paso over on Donovan Drive?
I have not. I've heard about it, but I've not had the opportunity to go out there yet.
Okay, well, I have a number of friends out and we work together. I live on the far east side, that's the far west side. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't been as close as some on that project, but uncovering some of these things there that hundreds of years. And the river has changed. It used to be the river was there, now the river is somewhere else.
It's changed throughout history.
That's another thing about archaeology. Sometimes something that hasn't been uncovered for a long time gets uncovered by the rain.
Right.
Even happens right here in our mountains as the rain comes down. You mentioned the arrowheads and uncovers some things that hadn't been uncovered before.
And then once you discover them and uncover them, another flood comes through and covers it back up again. So
right.
it's a continual cycle in many cases.
Well, it makes for an interesting profession. I don't know what you might have been if you hadn't been an archaeologist, but I'm glad you're in this field and you're helping preserve some of these things for us.
Well, you might be interested to know that I started out as a marine biologist, and that didn't work. So then I went into international relations And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go and study what I have a true passion for, and I'm just going to go for it. And so that's what I did.
Well, marine biology uncovers all kinds of fossils and things.
It does. I do have saltwater aquariums at home. I still enjoy that a lot. But,
Yeah, okay, good. Now, what are some things that you would like to see maybe done with regard to it since you've been here? Do you have a board of directors?
You know, we don't currently have a board of directors for the El Paso Museum of Archaeology. We do have a department board, Museums and Cultural Affairs Advisory Board,
Okay.
which we work with, as do the other museums in the department. But as soon as we can, I would like to have a foundation formed here for the El Paso Museum of Archaeology, similar to what the Museum of Art has. We are in need of a support group to help us raise funds and to plan for the future of this institution. And so, yes, eventually we will have that.
Now, you have outside this building, this is also a part of a community of archaeology.
Yes.
You have animals out here, you have snakes and other kinds of things that are out here. What about that as a community of archaeology? Tell us about that, where you're sitting.
Well, you know, this building, which is about a 12,000 square foot building, sits on about 15 acres that's part of the Kastner Range military range. And we have close to probably 200 or more native plant species just in this little area that we're on. And we use this opportunity to teach children and other visitors how native peoples utilized a lot of these plants, herbs, seeds,
Right.
and other things in their daily lives, not only for food, but to make clothing and tools. So we use that opportunity with the grounds immediately around the building to tell that story. It's part of our exterior galleries, if you will. We do have animals here, as you mentioned. Just in the last few months, I've personally seen deer, coyotes. We actually have a doe that is out here in front of the building around our water pole pretty frequently in the early mornings when we get here. We've got tons of quail, horned toads, horned lizards, rattlesnakes, of course. We found a number of them this year, too.
Well, I grew up as a young kid playing with horned toads
Yeah.
and with ants and snakes and all kinds of things. And some people aren't interested in those, they're afraid of them. And, we have to respect them because some of them are very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Are there any additions that you would like to make to this particular facility? Something you see, we have a need for this. If you had a board, you'd say, this is what I recommend we try to do.
Sure. We're currently in discussions with the team here at the museum, talking about the upgrades that we would like to see in the near future, meaning the next 2 to 5 years. We would like to improve our lighting system in the building. We also would like to add more cases where we could install exhibitions in the North Gallery.
Right.
So that's in the planning stages, and hopefully we can accomplish that rather soon. We're going to hopefully be doing some upgrades also in the building, using some funding that the city has to improve our bathrooms and other parts of the building. So those upgrades are coming soon in the next 2 years, hopefully.
Now, what about getting out the word? This is going to help you to get out. We have a small audience, but it helps get the word out to
Sure.
our particular audience. This is about information and education. It's not an entertainment show by any means. But you get the word out. You have pamphlets, or there's some pamphlets at some of the tourist destination stops, like here at our border,
Sure.
and they can pick up and read about the museum.
Yes, our museum rack cards are out all over the place. We do depend heavily on social media, Facebook, and other venues, our website, to get our word out. Of course, we send out email blasts to our memberships. So we depend heavily on word of mouth. A lot of our visitors, I'm noticing, when they go home, they will post their pictures, their experience here at the museum. They'll tag us, as it were. And little by little, the word is getting out more and more. And so that's appreciated, and it's definitely needed. One thing that we focused on when I first started a year ago was increasing our membership. Our membership at the time was 69 members. We've almost doubled that in 12 months at this point, which I'm very happy about.
Good.
We are certainly in need of more membership support, so anyone out there who would like to join us as a supporting member with a paid contribution, our memberships start at $15 and go all the way up to about $1,000. So anything that fits your budget would be greatly appreciated. Again, as I mentioned before, we depend very heavily on those dollars to produce our education programs, our camps, our classes, and our exhibitions.
Because you have some things that you have to buy for these camps and supply for the
Absolutely.
children to
Absolutely.
come through.
And admission to the museum is free. We don't charge an admission fee. So, you know, it's these membership dollars and contributions from the community that help us keep our doors open free to the public.
I'm interested in you. Did you have a mentor or someone that was a hero to you that got you into this field? And you tried several different things. You can name by name or where the person was or someone, because I find that some of the, say, the children come through. They see someone they never saw before, learn something they never learned, and think, oh, I want to do that. Did you have some heroes?
I've had a few, actually. In my early years, I'd have to say probably my maternal grandfather, Herman Hatch, and also my mother, who both were very interested in Native American culture. It's through them that I developed an early interest in this. I had a high school teacher. Her name was Shirley Taylor Robinson. She passed away a few years ago at this point, but she was definitely instrumental in teaching me about Southwestern cultures and introducing me to many people in the field, which helped my progress to university and also into the professional field. At Brigham Young University, Dr. Marty Lou Allen, I would have to say, was a huge mentor. I'm deeply appreciative of what she did for me. She taught me just about everything I know about museums, the functioning of museums, the purpose of museums, the care of collections, the installation of exhibitions, and so on and so forth. So she currently works at a museum in Arkansas right now, but I guess those pretty much, professionally, those are people that deeply influenced my interest in archaeology.
Yeah, we are what we are because of some of the people that helped us to become what we are.
Absolutely.
And so that's important that you
Absolutely.
are interested in this. Well, we're glad you're preserving history for people of El Paso, Texas, and others that come through. What about you? Have people sign in, and do they indicate where they're from?
They do. We have a sign-in sheet where people, not everybody has to, but those that are willing to do so give us their address, their emails, and their zip codes. We use the emails to market the museum to them. And the zip codes help us have a general idea of where people are coming from. A lot of our visitorship are coming off the interstates, off the freeways. We have a lot of people from out of town visit this museum, which is really great to see. We also have a lot of local families come, especially on weekends. I'd like to just mention, in line with that, on Saturdays we have free archery demonstrations that people can participate in. Our summer hours are 10 to 1 on Saturdays, and our winter hours are 11 to 2, weather permitting, every Saturday out here. It's great for all ages. You come out and shoot the bow and arrow out here on the field. And
Do they have to bring their own bow and arrow?
no, sir, we provide everything, and it's free of charge. And just come out and enjoy yourselves. And that brings thousands and thousands of local El Pasoans to come out for a family day and enjoy nature and learn a little bit more about Native American heritage.
So it's not just coming and looking at things. It's
Oh, no.
doing things.
Absolutely. And aside from that, we have our annual Poppies Fest, which I mentioned before,
Right.
and usually in March or April. In November, for Native American Heritage Month, we try to do activities with Isleta del Sur Pueblo. We have Native American storytelling as well. So throughout the year, we have family days, we have camps and classes, workshops. There's a lot to do. So if you're interested, come on out. We'll be happy to have you join our group.
And you're always tuned in listening for suggestions.
Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
people would want to learn, want to see here
Certainly.
at the museum. Okay, here we are right at the beginning of August of 2017. And it's a busy summertime, monsoon season, quite a bit of rain.
It's a beautiful
around
monsoon season this year.
here. Yeah. Do you have sometimes visiting groups that come through? People have heard about you, or they come from somewhere else in Arizona or whatever. Do they come
Sure.
to see you?
Absolutely. In fact, this past May, we opened up a new exhibit called Paquime and the Casas Grandes Culture, and also a complementing exhibition to that called The Rock Speak Petroglyphs of the Casas Grandes
wow.
region.
Oh, I love it.
And we marketed that as best we could, and it's bringing in a lot of people from Las Cruces, New Mexico. Some have come from Arizona as well. So this is the largest exhibit the museum has done in probably close to 15 years, and we're very excited and very proud to present that to the community. In the exhibit, you will see probably close to 100 artifacts from the Casas Grandes culture. I'll just mention that Casas Grandes pottery makes up a huge part of our holdings here, our collections. We have close to 750 pots from the Casas Grandes culture. We're currently working on a lot of exhibit ideas up through 2019. A lot of them will be using our collections internally. We're thinking about using our baskets in an exhibit. We're going to be working with the Isleta del Sur community, Pueblo del Sur community on a Tigua Isleta pottery exhibit this fall. And there's a lot coming, and I hope that people here in El Paso will come out and take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, this program is not about upcoming events as such, but it's about events and the types of things that you do from time to time. So when we show this
Absolutely.
program as a rerun some summer, people will be aware of that, but you'll have some exhibits that are permanent exhibits, and you'll have some that are traveling or changing exhibits.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad that I got to come out and meet
Thank you very
and
much.
see what you have to present for us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I'm sure that all of you that were watching us today, that you've had an informative time with us on Perspectives El Paso. Thanks to Jeff Romney.